Welcome to the No BS guide to help you get what you want. This is definitely going to be a different format. I'm in my experimental era, guys. I feel like this message has wanted to go out in different shapes and containers, so I might link appropriate resources, especially as you guys determine if this message is for you or not. There's going to be two groups of people, I believe, that are kind of converging timelines, but they're maybe experiencing it two different ways. The first group of people are asking for what they want, but they're getting the opposite of that. That could look like asking for love and then getting more loneliness. That's just one example, but there's a polarity that's showing to you in what you're asking for in many ways. The second group is that they are asking for things, but it's just neutral. It's quiet. They're not necessarily getting what they want, but they're not getting the opposite either. It's just blah. I feel like this is specific to those who might know what they want more than those who don't know what they want. So I've had readings that clarify for those who don't know what they want. I'll leave a link to that now on the top right here of this video. You don't need to watch it now, especially if this one's resonating, but keep that in your back pocket if you maybe feel you don't know what you want. But this one is definitely for those who are clear and have clarity about what they want. But like I said, they're getting two different results pushed to them. The message today, while it's going to be experimental and look a little bit different, bear with me. It seems very clear it is for a group of people who have a general shape. They have a desire in mind. They are manifesting specific things. It is clear to them in some way. But the conflict here that they're experiencing, or the friction, is that they are either not getting it or they're getting the opposite. And they're remaining patient throughout it, is from what I can see. They're remaining with trust. The example that keeps coming through is that they're asking for love and getting more loneliness as a result. But it could be something like they're asking for wealth and getting more financial struggle. They're asking for purpose and identity and getting more confusion. I mean, the list can go on and on. It just depends on what you're specifically manifesting, what you're specifically wanting and desiring. You have that clarity, but it's not being reciprocated to you, or the opposite is being reciprocated to you. You can see my point here. So if this resonates on some level, this is your reading. Now, I'm splitting up this message into two parts for it to be concise, but I think both parties should listen to both parts. That's the first thing that's coming out here. Is it's just to bring clarity to both ways in which this is manifesting, but the timelines are converging so similarly that I think both groups could benefit from both parties' information. Okay, so this first part is going to clarify for the group of people who are asking for what they want, but they are still receiving the polar opposite of it. They are still receiving this distinct difference. And you may be really confused, like, why on earth am I being presented an opposite when I'm asking for something very specific? I also sense that maybe some of you didn't recognize you were receiving the opposite until I connected that for you here, and you are reflecting on it and you're like, oh, wait. I am more lonely as I've been asking for love, or I have been asking for wealth, but getting more friction, those kind of things. So this message is meant to show you that, to reveal that to you. The first thing here, the first part, is to clarify that this is not punishment. You are not doing anything wrong. In fact, it's actually a really good sign that you're being shown polarities. It means that you are signaling to the universe what you want, and it's being reflected back to you that it's understood. You are being heard. Polarity is a really strong part of how the universe exists and how energy functions. I, as a reader, am presented a lot of polarities, a lot of contrasts for my nuanced messaging. That is how I'm able to be such a detailed reader, that is how energy is presented to me. And from what I understand is universal signals are shown through polarities, through extremes, through axis points as well. And so I think you're going to need a visual for this. So this is where the experiment part comes in play. Oh my God. I'm going to provide like a really basic visual on screen, I think, just because I don't know how to explain this to you other than to show you something. So look on screen. I think the first thing we need to do here is think of the energy world as kind of functioning similar to the astrological wheel. Now, we all know about the axis points. On the astrology wheel, right? The 12 houses, the signs. But this also works with reality. You have one side that has polarity, that has an opposition, that reflects, mirrors back the opposition side. And the same is true for general things in your life from an energy standpoint. Let's say you are directly asking for love. That is what you want. You are saying to the universe, give me this. I am ready to receive love, 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 love. Like that is that is your awareness. That is your focus. You are asking for love. Now, for this group of people, if you are receiving the polarity of that, if you are receiving the opposite of that, say you are receiving loneliness, which is directly opposed to love, to connection, to warm, fuzzy stuff. That doesn't mean that you're not being heard. That is a signal that you are being heard. It is directly opposing the desire you have. And so it is revealing to you in an opposition. That is what it's hearing. That is what you are signaling. So this is like your compass. And it's very important I stress this to you. It's a way to see that the universe is hearing you in some sense. Now, this isn't applicable in every situation and circumstance. Not everything is shown through polarities, but a really good sign is that if polarities are present, if polarities are there, then that's a signal to you. If you are clear about what you want and the universe clearly provides that opposition, something there is being understood from an energy standpoint. There's many examples how this could present, like love and loneliness, or connection and loneliness and isolation are a good one because that's what the majority here is asking for, I can see. But another good one is money or wanting wealth, wanting abundance in material, and being shown more bills, being shown more chaos, less money, more environmental circumstances that take money away. Another good one is maybe wanting freedom, wanting to travel, wanting to get unstuck. And as a result, you're being given circumstances that are directly conflicting with that in some way, like a job that takes more stress or more time. You have less freedom as a result. Now, the part that you might not want to hear is what's happening here through this polarity signal. The universe is testing the ability to hold extremes before the midpoint is revealed. And the reason you might not want to hear that is because a lot of you don't want to experience loneliness. Like you want what you want and you don't want the opposite of that. Why would you want to deal with that? I get it. But this is more energetic than emotional. This is where the universe kind of tests to see if you can hold both extremes in a way to like rehearse that when you get that gift, when you get that abundant love that you've never received before, you will not dissolve it in your next timeline. And that's very important because if people were just handed things that they weren't ready to hold, then it would be kind of a waste of a gift, but also like more discouraging and set that person back 10 times more. So it's kind of like a functional thing rather than an emotional thing. It's not doing this because it hates you. It's not doing this because you have to work hard. It's doing this just functionally, if you think about it like as a machine, as a system. So with our love example here, like if you want love and you're asking for it with all your heart and you're ready to receive, but you're being, as a result, sent more loneliness, more isolation than ever before, the universe is telling you, hey, I hear that request. I hear what you're signaling. You're doing everything right. But right now we're testing that energy hold. We're testing that frequency. It's making sure by the time you receive the love that you can stay strong enough to hold it fully without dissolving within it. Think of tests not as a way to have to do more work or as a burden. Think of it as a way to show the energy change that you're asking for, a way to prove the capacity to the universe that you have the capacity to hold that now and you didn't in the past. No one gets to just change or experience difference without tests, without a change within. So everything must be earned through polarity, through those extremes to make sure that you can hold all parts of that energy. So for those who are receiving these opposites, receiving these polarities, this is a great sign, truly, that the universe hears you fully and you are signaling and sending everything in the correct frequency. It means the thing you desire is very close. You're in a stage right now where you're learning to hold both ends before that midpoint is revealed to you. These kind of messages make me feel like a teacher, and I don't know if I like that vibe, but The second part is kind of a conclusion for both groups, but it's also going to touch on those who are not getting the opposite. They're not getting that polarity shown to them, but they're also not getting what they're asking for. They're also not getting their abundance, their reward, their thing. You both are at similar crossings. You both are at the same energetic threshold, I see. Some of those who are getting the polarities will sometimes get nothing as well, and vice versa. It's going to like cross between the two of you. It's not going to be either or situations. Life is nuanced, life is complicated. So take these black and white understandings as just a way to understand, not as an absolute certainty. So this part, I think, wants to talk about why you're not seeing movement at all, why you're not even seeing the opposites, the polarities, why it's just kind of quiet. If you're asking for something like, say, for example, love, and you're not getting more loneliness, but you're just kind of getting nothingness, you're staying neutral, this is going to be harder to hear for you, for your side, for the neutral side, because sometimes even the extreme opposite is a better signal in terms of getting that thing than a neutral thing. So if you're experiencing nothingness, this could be an indicator that either the signal is not being clearly heard by the universe or it's being misunderstood in some way. Now, this isn't that you're necessarily doing anything wrong. I also won't say that polarity is the only way that things are granted or tested. Sometimes things are given without polarity tests. They're just given when the energy is ready. So keep in mind that there's a lot of nuances here. I mean, there's your interpretation nuance where you could think that nothing is happening, but things are happening and you're not just conscious of it. And also that not everything has to go through a polarity test to be granted. But this is specific to if you've been asking for something, and from what I'm seeing here, it's been stalled for a very long time. Like there's just neutral nothingness and nothing is moving at all, but you're kind of staying patient and trusting. I think that with this message, this is where change or doing a new method is not going to be harmful. It's not going to hurt anything because it's been stalled for so long. That's where it's important you hear what I'm about to say, because change and agency are an important next step for you. The universe cannot hear the signal correctly from a lot of you, and this kind of comes from a number of things. I'd recommend checking out my manifestation or surrender videos. I'm going to leave the link to both of those in the description. If you haven't already checked out those messages, they intersect a lot here and they'll be helpful for you. But this one specifically is about polarities we're talking about today. It's about reciprocation energy in what you manifest. So it's a little bit of a continuation of those messages. The experimental part of this message is I'm going to draw some visuals on the screen because it's kind of complicated and I feel like I want to simplify it as best I can for you all to understand. So it requires more intentional explaining from me. So the screen will have some interesting visuals. We're talking today about the polarity axis, which makes up what we can kind of think of when we understand zodiac signs, right? That same zodiac wheel that has polar opposites across from each other. Each energy has a polarity that sits across and reflects it. Now, the same is true for our universe. We talked about that in the last section. We talked about how the universe signals what it hears from you as reflecting back the polarity of what you're asking for. But when the universe can't hear what you're desiring and isn't reflecting back a polarity and there isn't movement, that means it can't understand what you're asking for as a whole. We all know the saying, as above, so below, as within, so without. And that directly explains the reciprocation principle that we're focusing on today for your message. As above, so below, as within, so without. Let's use some examples of what you need to do better to signal, because I want to make this a no BS approach. We are going straight to the details. We're not just taking you on a ride. So when you say you want to be less lonely and your goal is love, your goal is connection, and I keep bringing up this example because it just is what is presented to me through a majority of you. I get it a lot. You might think that what I'm going to say is go be more lonely. And then the universe hears that you want love, and then the end, happily ever after. No, actually, the way to clarify the signal so the universe can hear what you want is through the reciprocation law for you, which is slightly different than how the universe signals it hears you with those polarity axis points. I'm going to use the love example. Say you want love, and the way to reciprocate that, to show that energy to the universe, is through abundance, through not lack. You're not living in lack with loneliness. Love is abundant for you. You have much love to give. So the reciprocation point here is to love abundantly without expectation, without end. It's endless love you have to give. So if you want love, the way to reciprocate that to the universe, to show it clearly, to signal it clearly, is you show abundant love to each and every person, to others, to things, to items. You are endlessly giving your love without strings attached. This explains clearly to the universe that you want that thing, that you're pointing at that thing on the axis and saying, yes, that one. And so as a result, you might experience more loneliness, even though you're giving in abundance, because it's reflecting that polarity to you. It's testing those axis points. It's making sure you can receive abundant love without dissolving yourself. I want to give a couple more examples because it's important you understand reciprocation. The same is true for, say, if you want to manifest a lot of respect or freedom. I'm putting those together because they're kind of the same. You must act by the laws of reciprocation in a way that shows these things are abundant to you. You respect yourself by putting boundaries in place and by not betraying yourself. You are telling the universe more of this. I respect myself, give me more respect. The same is true with freedom. You are acting in abundance as if you already own yourself to get more freedom. That is a reciprocation. So you don't wait for permission to act. You don't wait for answers. You don't seek validation. You give it to yourself. That is freedom. These are the ways in which you are showing abundance of these things. You are showing, I do not lack these things, more. Give me more. And as a result, you might get polarity, but that is a great sign. That is a signal the universe hears you. I could probably go all day with examples and the reciprocation of that example. I think you guys may get the point at this point, though, hopefully from all of my interesting illustrations. If you really listen closely to polarity tests, to these signals you're getting, you can see what the universe is reflecting back to you. You can kind of understand how energy works through these axis points. It can kind of be a confirmation that you are being heard rather than a discouraging factor. The process of polarity is an extremely difficult test, and it is why people don't often get what they ask for. It is why it's rare to get abundance. It's because it tests your resilience to things. It tests your ability to hold all ends of that energy spectrum. And a lot can't get past the resilience testing because what happens is they lose hope. They assume nothing is coming. They give up altogether. That's why abundance isn't gifted to everybody. That is why it is a rare few who hold all polarities of an energy point, not just the side that is easy or the side that is convenient. The point of this message is you can't trick the universe into giving you something because you believe you're ready or you're strong enough for it. You have to actually prove that you're ready. And that's where a lot of you aren't going to want to hear this message, right? The hard truth is a majority of those who don't get what they want make excuses and say they're deserving without self-awareness and without work and agency. They just kind of sit and wait instead of make changes, listen to signals, adapt to energy, adapt to feedback. And while I believe all of you, because I love you guys so much, are all deserving, just as you are, I think the cold truth that I have to give you today is what makes the difference between those who actually get what they want and those who don't is that they don't fool themselves. They don't just sit and wait without ever taking action or changing their approach. They're listening to the reciprocation energy. They're listening to the polarity energy as signals, as feedback, and they're having an awareness to that. To conclude this message, it was kind of experimental. I hope it went well, but I sense some of you are going to feel discouraged by this message. You may hear it's more work. You may be tired of doing work, tired of feeling like you have to earn something, have to prove something. And for those who have that particular reaction to this message, I want to say I love you so much, but you may not be ready to hear this. You may not be in a place to hear this message, unfortunately. This message is for those who are ready to take action, who are ready to not keep living in misalignment and complain about how difficult it is. They want to make changes. And while it may be discouraging to hear that you're not ready for this message. That doesn't mean that you won't ever be. It means that just with where you are right now, it is not the time, and that is okay. Divine timing is at play for you. Don't worry. I almost wasn't going to do the next experimental thing, which was just doing some chill vibes at the end of a video. I think it could be short chill vibes. I could just do like one thing that kind of comes to mind. It doesn't have to be practiced or rehearsed, so I really have no idea what I'm going to say here. I'm really going all in. The first thing that kind of comes to my mind is the new shorts format that a lot of you have given me love for. A lot of you have given me amazing feedback for. I love all of it. I just want to clarify, I loved the Skyrim soundtrack. I loved the old format, but I had a feeling, and I don't know how I did this, but I kind of predicted what was going to happen before it actually happened, is I had a feeling I wasn't going to be able to use that Skyrim soundtrack forever. That is not my music. That is not something I own. And the soundtrack is no longer available. But even before I saw that, I was already working on something more reflective of my brand, of my aesthetic. So I also would love to use that Skyrim soundtrack for the rest of my life. Just know that. But it's just not possible, especially if you are building kind of a brand, if you are building something online that is yours, that you own. I will have to build my own Skyrim soundtrack. And I don't know, I'm not a musician, so I don't really know how to do that. I would love to do something similar, but more to come on that. And I love you guys so much. Keep leaving comments, keep leaving nudges. As you know, it helps me channel for you the most efficiently, and I want to be able to do that. Cheers, friends.